My name is Duncan. I like to be called Duncan. And do you want to introduce yourself?
Why, thank you, sir. My name is Lexi Sekuless, and I'm okay with just being called Lexi.
There we go.
Have we worked together before?
We've never worked together before.
He lies, he lies. In fact, is it 10 years ago? Or no, now it'll be 11.
It'll be
11.
It'll be 11 years ago. We first met on a show, a free-rein production of The 7-Year Itch.
That's right.
Where I was playing a man. I can't remember the name of the character.
Richard Sherman.
Richard Sherman.
I think it's Richard Sherman.
And you were playing the girl.
The girl, yes. Yeah, that's right.
And
well, since then we've actually almost, apart from stints overseas, we then worked together in 2008 and in 2009. And then as soon as I came back from overseas in 2015, we worked together again. So yeah, before this we did the Crucible at the Canberra Repertory. So we've worked together a lot, and I consider that a great thing. We've had the best training for any partnership is when you have to act with someone. You have to be available to them because they're doing that for you. And so it fosters perhaps the best, the healthiest relationships with trust and creativity. So, and I think we've enjoyed and actually been taken aback a little bit that when we've been directing, Duncan says one thing, and then we've at the beginning we've had moments where, do you agree? Is that okay? And we do that a tiny bit now, but for the most part we know that we just agree absolutely.
Yeah, I think we're very simpatico. But actually, that's something that I kind of expected. Because you work with someone in what I was calling an intimate and collaborative way over a couple of different shows, I think when you have that relationship, you understand each other's creative rhythms, if that doesn't sound too wanky. And I felt like we stepped right back into that.
Yes, yeah.
So why did we choose to do Much Ado About Nothing? I don't know, my memory is sometimes faulty for these things, but what I remember is that...
I'll attempt to correct the record.
Lexi and I really wanted to do Romeo and Juliet, but Tamus Werner Gibbings was adamant that it had to be Much Ado About Nothing and browbeat us until we agreed with him. Is that right?
Not quite.
Oh,
not quite. Not quite, my dear friend and colleague. Entirely the other way around. Yeah. So. The initial from first conversations, Romeo and Juliet was on the table.
And I can understand why, because it's a crowd pleaser. It's a great one to launch a new venture with, and the name itself is going to sell, in inverted commas, tickets.
Yes, yeah. But I think there were too many other elements that won out. I quite strongly, I didn't want to start with a tragedy. I really wanted us to do a comedy first, and also. I mean, there's a couple, there are others, Midsummer Night's Dream has got a strong outside element, but...
that would be an obvious choice.
Yes, it would be. And then there are other things as well which were pointing us towards Much Ado. Certainly, of course, the two of us have talked about being Beatrice and Benedict before. Yeah. So if an opportunity like this comes up, we more than jumped on it. Also, that so much of it can be done outside, and we're outside for all of our playing spaces. And nothing has to be cheated in being in an inside place. And for our first show, comedy, that we had such a keen Beatrice and Benedict, the two of us, and then that the outside element is already there. It just seemed like the best thing for us to do for our first show.
I think maybe summing some of that up, I suppose I felt that I had a very clear idea of how Much Ado About Nothing could be done. And I didn't have that clarity of vision with any other Shakespeare play.
There's also the practicalities that I think somewhere it wasn't instant. It wasn't at the very beginning of our conversation, but somewhere it was agreed that we would be co-directors as well. And so if we're going to be in it, it's got to be the right kind of parts where not every single scene hangs on Beatrice and or Benedict, or else that's not fair on the other actors who are needing directors if we're too much in each scene.
Yeah, in fact, one of the interesting things we noticed when we were starting to rehearse the scenes in which we're together is how little of the play is Beatrice and Benedict.
Yeah.
It's actually just a very small amount for a play that you remember as largely fireworks of wit between these two characters. What is our take or theme for this production of Much Ado About Nothing? I'm wary of words like theme or message. I tend to think if Shakespeare had a message to deliver in writing a play, he would have written it on a post-it note or its Elizabethan equivalent. The reason you write a play is that you don't necessarily know what you want to say in a capsule summary-like way. And I think as directors, we don't necessarily have a distilled version. We think this play is about this.
Yes.
It's about exploring a number of different opportunities and possibilities, some of which you might have before going into the rehearsal room, some of which come out of rehearsal, some of which come from the back of rehearsal.
Yes, I think rather what the co-directorial element has been an agreed approach, that we have our script. We have our production team and we have some ideas, but we wish to exercise those ideas in the rehearsal room with our cast, and then let our cast and let this group, let all these creative brains all together unpick, mine out what's in there for us to display for our audience.
I think we had more of an idea of what we didn't want it to be.
That's true.
To start with, I knew I didn't want the play to be set in an incredibly specific location, like a sausage factory in Chicago in the Prohibition era. I tend to think if you put that kind of fierce stamp upon it, it's more about the ego of the director.
Breathe. Yeah, and you can't, there's nothing, it's definitely about the ego of the director, and there's no space for, there's nothing, you can't breathe if we've all come in with that shackle. So I think we agree that we have a frame and everyone comes in and bounces around like with all their beautiful choices and options and energy, and we just work the frame, consolidate the frame, and it's the work and it's the synergy of all of us together. It's the whole company that is going to bring out a theme or a message. Yeah. Sorry, you go.
And the last thing I'd say on this is that we're both very much in agreement that every Shakespeare play is about the words on the page. That is what you keep coming back to. It's what you start from. It's the sort of the ne plus ultra of Shakespeare.
Definitely. And we've worked quite hard in prepping the company so that they have that approach too, and that they have the tools to enjoy and explore Shakespeare's language, so that we're not in a position where we're sort of professing or tutoring or saying, no, it ought to be done like this, or no, you must do that, or that's Stickamithia, didn't you know that? We had some sessions in December, and indeed Peter Hall says you need 3 full days with any company of actors to introduce them to all the techniques of Shakespeare's language, and we did those 3 days. So that each actor in our company, they have the tools to use themselves, so that they can make informed choices for when we started rehearsals in January.
There's a film, I can't remember what it's called. It's a Robert Altman film with Alec Baldwin playing a Hollywood actor. And there's a scene where he's looking at the script and says, this line here, my character wouldn't say that, so let's cut that line. That's what I think a lot of people might assume acting is about, finding this sort of inner space of what you would or wouldn't do, and manipulating things like a script until you find your personal truth. But this is very much the opposite of that. The words are sacrosanct, and whatever you need to do to be able to say that is your process, but it's you sort of meeting the text and not the other way around.
Yes, yeah, definitely. That instinct is really, it's an easy option, but that's you shrinking the character down to something already that you may already know. And we've insisted actually that we all meet the text and grow to meet these themes and grow to meet this highly poetic and charged expression.